All right, here we are, boys. We got people in the car. We got mayhem. Lauren Meadows is covering the riots in the streets in Gainesville. It's pandemonium.
Looting women and children.
Stop him. It's like the LA riots. Stop, Lauren. No, it's crazy.
Dogs and cats living together. Pandemonium. Women and children.
People are jumping off them. Well, is there any bridges? I don't think there are bridges. All right, everybody. All right, we're here for you. We're doing a show. Lauren's driving a car. He's going to a big party. He's a very important guy. I just got back from the worst football game I've ever seen in the swamp. Maybe, because I didn't stay for the whole game because it sucked. I'm with Rob Brown because he's my broadcast partner in life and pretty much my brother from another mother. And then Coach Lauren, you could be Lauren Meadows, GatorBaitMedia.com, who just left the press conference. Buddy Martin will be joining us shortly. We'll try to get a word out to Franz Beard, but I know he's riding. Holy shit! What happened, Lauren?
Once again, man, when you step up with big boy competition, just not ready to play football. I mean, from the word go. And, this is a football team that not only, they're getting beat in the trenches, but they're really, once again, getting beat at all levels of the game. Just from an execution standpoint, Texas A&M came in with a redshirt freshman making his first start ever, and he looked like a seasoned vet against the Florida defense. And then, I think that maybe Billy Napier got a little lost in the sauce, but with this whole Mertz Lagway type of situation, and I just think it led to, once again, what ended up being a very poor game plan for this football team, and it did not turn out well. And this is a football team that just finds ways to beat themselves on key third downs with penalties and things like that. It's just not a very good football team.
All right, well, we knew that. I didn't say I told you so, but I told you so. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like there was a deal already done to get like Kiffin or Kiffin's brother, or I get Kiffin. Look, no one's talking to Kiffin exactly right now, but like I know everyone's got a brother, a friend that knows somebody. But look, end of the day, it doesn't matter at all right now. Rob Brown, what did you see? Talk to me. I'm about to jump off the only bridge. I'm gonna find one.
Billy Napier, his look on the sidelines, he reminds me of Cameron at the end of the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he screwed up his dad's Porsche. He's catatonic. He's at the bottom of the pool, and they're going, come on, slap out of it. He is combat ineffective. I wanted the Gators to win. I wanted them to win. I pulled for the Gators. But I picked A&M because I said it gets down to the line of scrimmage on A&M, offensive and defensive line, will absolutely just control this game. But this looks like a team that they're just not together. And I said this, I thought Florida could win 7 or 8 games this year based on the talent. I don't know how bad that situation is in the locker room. But the way I see it, if it doesn't happen in year 2, it ain't going to happen in year 3 if you're going backwards every week. So Florida deserves better than this. I don't see how they can do anything but make a change. And when you know it's bad, you got to get rid of him.
Okay. So, all right. So now what? Coach, 26 million, 27 million. Here you go. Who's going to coach the rest of the year? I mean, is that what you do? Is that the play here?
Well, I think I'm going to be honest, and once again, fans may not want to hear this. I will be shocked if Billy Napier is not employed through this week. I just think at this point in time, you got to see how it breaks down. And what you have in his coaching staff is a lot of guys that are extremely loyal to Billy Napier. So, and with the team, a lot of times when you have a situation where the coach is fired, there's usually like an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator or somebody whose unit has been playing extremely well, and maybe the team will rally around them, but it's all bad. And so I don't think they really have somebody that they can go to on an interim basis that would basically handle some of the things that are coming. So
here, Austin,
I don't know.
You're like 20.
I think that,
but you take the keys, buddy. You're kicking ass on defense.
And you're right. And your defense is terrible. Hey, Rob Sale, you take it, but your offensive line's horrible. I mean, I just think that it's one of those situations where the transition plan would stink as well. And no matter who they would go with in the long run, a lot of times you even think, hey, maybe somebody comes.
Yeah. You're breaking up there. It sounded like computer guy. You okay? Yep.
What's that?
Yep. We're just losing your signal a little bit there.
Oh.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah,
yeah, you're good.
I said, Billy Napier has been so much in the middle of this thing and at the forefront of pretty much everything that Florida has tried to do that it just hasn't been good at all. And I think that one of those things is like if his guys, you're just getting more of the same. And that's what makes it a really bad situation, is that kind of deal. So
okay,
I don't know.
So
everyone,
good friend of ours. Yeah.
I
was just gonna say good friend of the show, good friend of mine, good Joe Blackburn. Joe says Ron Roberts will take over. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Why would you go with Ron Roberts when rumors are that Ron Roberts isn't a great fit there either, and Rob's made note of that himself. So I mean, you see what I'm saying? There isn't really anywhere to go with this thing, and unfortunately, it's almost like you let him go on the road, and you see what happens on the road. And maybe they get Mississippi State. I don't know if they will. I got to really look at Mississippi State, but maybe they get Mississippi State. But there really is no great plan here, and that's what makes it even worse. And the other thing is, and I hate to say this because I really like the guy as much as other people may or may not, then what happens to Scott Strickland? Because you have an interim president. Yeah, I think so. I agree. So you got a lot to iron out, and then you're going to say, "Hey, Ron Roberts, you lead the ship." I mean, and then what? I just don't know who becomes the primary play caller on offense. Does Ron Roberts then, as the interim head coach, start? Does he call? I mean, I just think it's a messy situation right now, but it's all been caused by, I think, like we talked about earlier, I think this team has taken on the identity of its ho-hum coach, and you just don't see the fire. You don't see the fire.
Well, they're acting like a bunch of abused children where they don't blame daddy. Look, he's in there tonight. Right. Graham Mertz is in there tonight. Oh, no, it's our fault. We didn't execute, blah, blah, blah. Oh, come on. Hey, Rob, explain to us from your perspective, and I know you know more than most, why Lane Kiffin is not going to leave Oxford, Mississippi right now and come be the coach, and why that's not even possible and even a thing at this particular point, because people don't understand that, and you have a good way of explaining.
Well, if you don't think Ole Miss has money, you are.
But I'm just saying, explain why this particular in the middle of a season, season, and why more of like
it's the middle of the season.
Well, I know, but like you can't do these things. I think
Lane
you
Kiffin,
don't just lead.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin loves it at Ole Miss, and again, you can win a national championship, a bunch of them at Florida, but I do think money ain't gonna be what pulls him away. It would have to be on. He gets everything he asks for at Ole Miss. I think the Florida situation is you got to do a SEP, scorched earth policy. Everybody associated with this regime has to be taken out. Mississippi State, by the way, is losing in Starkville tonight to Toledo 28-3. Okay. So and Auburn is hanging on for dear life, 17-13 at the half against New Mexico. And then I'm going to tell you what's going on. All this moving around, the portal, the kids are poorly coached. They're not buying all in. We've got a bunch of ringers that are showing up, getting money, and their hearts aren't into this. And it's a bad look. Right. The free market's going to correct it. And I will say this right now. Florida, you know who the great coach is. I mean, if you could get Urban Meyer to come in there somehow and say, we've got to have you fix this thing, because Urban Meyer, 187-32, he could do it. You've got to get that alpha male culture back. Again, you've got. And
I don't think Lane Kiffin made it be an answer. I don't know why everyone's talking about the Lane train. Like, dude, I want someone who won a national championship and because someone a little more experience. Like, he's not the answer.
Kiffin's a perfect fit at Ole Miss because Ole Miss will put up
with that. Meyer.
Florida will not put up with him going out to a week or two fishing down in Florida. They want to coach in that office at 4:30 in the morning. But right. I would go for Urban Meyer. That's just what I would do if I were Florida. And you got Larry Mondello. Armstrong's about 23 years old as your defensive coordinator. Somebody that comes in, you've got to do something because December signing period is coming up.
Can we fire him right now? Can we just get, like, as a sacrificial lamb, like this? He can't come back tomorrow. Let's just start there because defense is horrific right now. Yeah. Like everything is horrific right now. We're focusing on a couple of things. We're coping on, but it's everything. Nothing's working. Nothing is working.
Agreed.
Like I'm really freaked out. Like nothing. Nada. Zero. All aspects of the game, all points of the game, all the keys to the game, all that metaphor, like nada. Nothing's working. And you know what? You see it in their faces. You see it in Billy's face. You see it in Mertz's face. They don't know what's wrong. That's the problem. There's so much wrong. They don't know what's wrong. And it's been like this since I watched him go to freaking Utah a year ago. And I was pissed then and I'm pissed now. And everyone told me not to be pissed and everything's going to be fine. They're going to go win 8 games. No, they're not. And he sucks. And he's tried everything. Everything. From the way they ran on the field tonight with their black flags all lined up like all military and shit. It was different. It was different. I see the nuances that he's trying to do. He's a details guy. He's trying all these things, and I get it. But sometimes, man, it's just not there.
But here's the thing, Brendan, and I'll be one of those guys that thought they could win 7 ball games. What's crazy is for those of us that, all of us know football in some way, shape, or form, it mystifies the mind because when you look at this football team, there's no way they should be this bad in all parts of the game. And they are. I mean, they just are. And like I said, I went to the press conference and I almost
culture, Lauren. That's the culture.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I get it. We are here now. But what I'm saying is when people walk in, everybody from me to Shane Matthews to Chris Doering, all of us are like, we must not know any football because everything we thought that would happen is not happening. And like the only thing I can point to is because we don't get a view inside is the things that go on. And I've said this a million times, Monday through Thursday, they have a huge problem with the way things are the way that they prepare as a football team is poor. And it shouldn't be that way with as much experience. And you talk about guys like Rob was talking about Ron Roberts, and you talk about Rob Sale from the NFL and Will Harris and Billy Napier being at Alabama. Mike Peterson, 14-year NFL vet, former Florida Gator. It just doesn't make sense. But here we are. And I'm not, and I mean, this is not an indictment or a play to keep Billy Napier. I'm saying that this is going to happen. Billy Napier is going to be dismissed as the head coach, and we will still be standing there scratching our heads because we never got to look under the hood of this thing, and we never will. And I think that's what blows everybody away is the fact that this thing is so bad and it makes absolutely no sense with the amount of resources, with the recruiting base, with the people that they have in place, and it just does not work. And
Look,
there's no reason why.
to me, Rob, to me, it's like the red flags in a relationship that you step going, you just kept. Well, I don't know. It's just they seem okay. I mean, he seems like a good guy, and you're just missing all these things along the way. It's like, dude, she's psycho, man. Like you don't want to date this person. That's how I felt with this entire process with him, and I'm just sort of like do you I mean, look, we've talked about this a million times. When you're a person that has to take on a giant project and you create more tasks that are necessary, do you not at some point have to put people in place who are going to be able to delegate for you and give them the freedom to do their job, so you can as a whole see this picture and create a culture and a leadership that people follow? But you can't do it all. Is it possible to create ballooning tasks that you just overdo it?
Well, they've got way too many people on that staff. They got all these analysts. It's paralysis by analysis. Nobody makes decisions. And it's like trying to move a cruise ship versus moving a Zodiac boat. You're over just too much stuff. And I will say this, Urban Meyer may not come back. Matt Rule, you should have gotten him before he got to Nebraska. He's getting them going. But whatever you do at Florida, your big boosters need to go in there and tell the president, get rid of these guys and the big money people. That's how it's done at most every other school. The big boosters tell them this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, we're done funding you. That's what you got to have. You've got to have some men in the room, alpha male culture. You can't be soft and you can't worry about hurting people's feelings. This is, I mean, y'all remember the 1979 Florida team that was 0-10-1. You don't want to be in that situation, but you got to do it earlier than you ever did before because of the December signing period. See what Buddy Martin says, because he's forgotten more than the collective world knows
from the COVID. From the COVID lounge, Buddy Martin. Dad, like what? I mean, look, sky is falling. Now what?
I've seen this guy before. Yeah, it's harsh. It's really harsh to even look at. And I was having dinner with my relative who's a Florida State fan, and we were trying to figure out maybe we should find a new team or start rooting for pickleball teams or something. Because here's a team over the other side of town, on the other side of the state that had 0-3. I don't know. It's beyond disappointing. I just posted a very fine piece by Carlton, our columnist, who is Carlton Reese, who's been following Florida a long time. He's pretty much dug in, but he's not afraid to say when things don't look right. I mean, we have tried our best to keep a stiff upper lip and be a part of the solution, not from all those things. And I hear you, Joe, Blackburn, Urban. I get a call today. I get a text or two a day, call Urban. Why would Urban want to come here now and do this mess? I guess the biggest disappointment is how profoundly wrong so many of us have been about Billy. We've given him every benefit of the doubt.
I'm not a part of that.
Okay, well, I know we've all criticized him. You've been an outspoken person. Lauren's been. I'm just saying, still, a lot of really qualified people and good people still have given him every benefit of the doubt, saying that give him a chance to get his act together, get his players on the field. I'm like, well, Carlton's right. It was over from the coin flip. Why in the world would you want to go into a game where you had to get your quarterback on the field, move the ball, and then go out and decline the kick? get the ball and go for the ball and put your quarterback out there and fling it. You know what I mean? The problem that Billy has, he gets in his passive modes as a coach. And it may be coachology 101, but it's not what we want to see and feel. We want to feel like somebody out there has got some kind of idea about how to attack this problem. And I'm sure he does, but he doesn't seem to have any sense of urgency to it. And whatever any opportunity could have possibly existed for them at least to look like they were going to be playing a good game, went out the window early on. It was over in the first quarter, and I felt so bad for the players because they were giving everything they had, and there's some good players on that team. I think Carlton got it right. I won't give away his whole line, but when you assess it, get right down to it. No matter what your feelings are about being fair or about whatever, in the end, was he really ever the right guy for the job?
Well,
Which I know, Brendan, you probably expressed that somewhat too. But look, I've seen a lot of coaches come and go, and Rob, you have too. Brendan, you've seen a few. I think that's Lauren, but I can't tell for sure.
yeah, he's been on. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen him come and seen him go. There were inklings that we thought, well, this might be their opportunity to turn the corner. They barely got to the corner, let alone turned it. And we can start any way you want to. We can start with them attacking it on any front you want to for any reason. But he's a good football guy. B, he's coached under some really good players. He's a quality guy with high character. He's improved the program, as it were. But the one thing that stuck in my craw after last week, after the Miami game, and I wrote it down in my notes and never used it. We did a lot of great things getting ready for this game against Miami. We got ourselves in condition. We're all on the same page. We're playing for each other. But we forgot about the football part, and that is it, Lauren. They forgot about the football part, and the fact is they are not able to compete at the football part, and they just don't. And it's almost sad to watch it. So I say to you that I have a hard time watching the whole game. Sometimes you got to flip over the baseball game in the middle just to watch it when I'm at the ball. But it's just, you know what I'm saying, Lauren?
Yes, sir. I mean, I think that, well, that's what we talked about. I mean, and I think we've all had issues with, like you said, high character guy. You know, I think he should be a little bit more social and outgoing. I think, like I said, I think it's then kind of rubbed off on his players. You know, one particular player, Tyreek Sapp, who's a great quotable guy in interviews. But then I saw Tyreek Sapp out with a couple more players, and it was like he had turned into Billy Napier in like a couple days. I'd seen him on Monday, and he was all ready to go. I saw him Wednesday night, and it was like he was a different person. And it just was like, where is the life for a week where it's a must-win game? And I think when we talk about, like, as we go on in this thing and everything we've examined, the one thing I think we've all agreed on when it really comes down to it is you're judged with everything you do and all that frou-frou stuff. It comes down to 12 Saturdays a year, and they just haven't done the job. And one of the more frustrating things is, and I talked to the guys before we came on the air, and I got to cut out real quick, but I'm going to say this, is the fact that it's like it's like somewhere along the lines he's missing it. Because like Brendan said, this is something that started really, I think, before the loss to Utah at a game where inexplicably his team showed up unprepared to play with the fourth pick in the draft at Vanderbilt. And it was just, it's gone from there. And just these head scratching things that just a team that shows up unprepared. But even in the presser tonight, he was talking about not showing up to play against Miami, not showing up to play again this afternoon. But this is a recurring theme for this football team. And when you asked us all a few nights ago, do we think that Billy Napier can get it turned around? That's why I said no, because as much as you look at it on the surface, like you said, buddy, it just the business of football has not been accomplished here, and I don't think it's going to get any better. And I got to let you guys go, and I know you're going to continue to debate this, but I think he survives the weekend. But ultimately, I mean, and like Jeremy Foley said, if you got to do it inevitably, then you do it now. I just think the transition plan is non-existent right now. So you at least, see where this thing goes through the trip to Starkville next week. Like I said, they're losing to Toledo, so maybe they're beatable if Florida can pull it all together. But then you got some heavy hitting games, and you definitely got a must win against a bunch from Orlando, which will bring even more.
God, you're
And
giving me anxiety. Like I'm freaking out.
I'm just being realistic, and
I
here's
know.
what I'm gonna
I know. I know.
I'm gonna leave it at this. I'm gonna leave it at this, and I'm gonna bid good night to you guys. The boos were very real.
Yeah.
And there were people waiting, and I'm talking all ages, as he left the field tonight. The boos were prepared, they were practiced, and they were loud. So, it's going to be interesting to see what the week brings, whether he stays or whether there is a plan in place to replace him.
Well, the paper sacks are showing up in Tallahassee. They're already wearing them today. They'll probably be in Florida Field next
Well,
Hey,
well,
I gotta take
all right,
off,
Lauren.
guys.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Match. We'll talk to you
All
this week. We're not going to stay on it too like forever.
I
I just
like
wanted
this
to.
one
I wanted to
point.
say to you, Dad, before you
Yeah.
say that I got it. The W. Keith Friedman. This was sent to me by a friend of ours. This tweeted. He's the guy that told you that Mullen was going to leave. He tweeted that he just received word from a source in Florida, the University of Florida, is going to move on from Billy Napier. The Gators are expected to make the announcement possibly Monday.
Well, that's the Captain Obvious comment. I get it.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that's the other. That's somewhat of a credible source. I mean, it's Twitter.
No, I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion because it's not getting any better, and it doesn't seem.
Well, Lauren said he didn't think. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just saying, and I'll let you talk. I'm just saying, Lauren was saying he's going to stay there, and I just make you disagree with that.
I don't. I think everything's on the table right now. It's a whole different way. It's a different. And here's the other thing: people just talk about Urban. One thing you got to remember, and somebody said this earlier on the here, is that it just killed Urban to lose a football game. When I called him a couple of weeks ago and talked to him about it losing, what it was like, and he said for us it was like losing one game was a nightmare. I mean, he actually he got beat and went to a restaurant in Gainesville and got booed in Gainesville by Gator fans. And maybe I wonder sometimes if it doesn't hurt enough for Billy. He's kind of a tough line coach. He sort of takes it all in stride, keeps it in the middle.
He looked worn on his press conference.
Well, I know that, but the way he's approached this, I was telling somebody the other day about this. Somebody pretty well known about Billy wants it kept in neutral. He doesn't really want you. He didn't want you to know who the special teams coach was. He didn't want you to know who the play caller was. He never wants to point any fingers at anybody. He sort of hides everything under one big cloud like it's all a team thing. Well, we get that it's a team thing, but the buck stops with him, and now the buck has stopped, and we're out of answers now, and I don't know where to go. I mean, even in the loss, and I will say again, what a great column Carlson wrote about. It's not just that they lost, but they were humiliated, and the way they attacked it tonight was like just another game. I mean, if I've got a young man like that I'm putting in the game, I'm going to put him in there with fanfare. I'm going to throw it deep right off the bat. His first play was a handoff, and then there was a timeout. Momentum killer. The crowd never got a chance to get excited. They weren't going to beat Texas A&M no matter what today. There's no question about it. Texas A&M was a much stronger physical team, and once again, failing to tackle the ball carrier is part of the problem. Some of the things just have never gotten corrected. All the things he said were corrected were not corrected. So it's time to ask the hard question: where do we go from here? And I frankly don't see a future that involves Billy Napier.
Rob, is it going to be Lane Kiffin?
I don't think so, but that's who I would go after. By the way, Kentucky in the third quarter leads Georgia 9-3. I think what we're seeing now is some of the most garbage ass football I've ever seen in the SEC.
A lot of truth. It's a lot of truth to that. Right?
I mean, there's some of the worst coaching. These coaches, and in fairness, how much are they getting to coach? They got to deal with kids whining about their NIL. They got to, kiss their ass to keep them from hitting the transfer portal. They're not coaching. And Buddy's right. Look at Billy Napier. This guy looks so disengaged, and it transfers to his players. And, Florida has everything in the world going for them. But I saw this matchup, and I said, A&M's not great, but I don't care who they start for Florida. That line of scrimmage, that's what this league's all about. A&M is going to dominate. But I think you got to make a change now, because you got to save that December signing class. You can't keep falling further behind. And absolutely no way you
Here's
can
the
allow.
problem, Rob, how do you do that? Well, you got a coach. You don't have anybody to coach him. You have to hire an interim coach.
I understand that.
And Lane Kiffin's not going to leave in the middle of the season to come to Florida.
No, he's not. That's what and it's the same thing everybody else has to do. But you've got to have a way to hold your recruiting class together and have some sort of an agreement. And this is what causes whoever Florida targets, it's going to affect that coach's team because word gets out pretty fast. Everybody knows the tail numbers of these university jets. But you got to do something, because this is, like I said, if it hadn't happened in year 2, it ain't going to happen. I mean, and here you are in year 3, you're going backwards. And you want the Gators to win because they're in the SEC. But right now, again, Kentucky 9, Georgia 3. Where is the SEC right now? Because the 2 and 3 deep depth charts we used to have in this league, they're going away because these kids are transferring because their pillow's not soft enough, their mattress is too hard, they're quitting, then they're getting a sack full of money and they're leaving. Where do you see the ultimate culture in football right now? If Georgia's struggling on the road at Kentucky, Florida needs to make a decision. They need to get a leadership team together and do this thing in the next 48 hours. You can't let this thing linger.
Texas looks pretty good.
And Quinn Ewers is hurt. Arch is playing. Quinn Ewers is hurt.
3 touchdown passes for Texas.
Hey, you know what? Dan Mullen's available. I love that from Joe Backford. He said LOL afterwards. I don't think Mullen would come here in a heartbeat. But I'm just saying, like, that's what Buddy made such a great point at the top of the thing, which is, why would anyone want to come here right now? That's the other part. Who wants to come to Florida?
They want to come here, but not right now.
But not the big. I mean, the big names. Like, you can get Urban doesn't want to come here, right? It's true.
I agree. And it's now Toledo 35, Mississippi State 10 in Starkville.
Wow.
We've got we've had this discussion on the show, Buddy and Brendan, and about is SEC dominance over. I know we loaned the national championship trophy to Michigan last year, but I'm looking around this league right now. You tell me, who are the great assistant coaches? Who are the up-and-coming coaches? Who are the great coaches in college football? We need hard asses like Nick Saban, who are tough, just driven. And right now, who are those coaches in college football? God love Urban Meyer. I think Swamp Kings should win an Oscar. After watching that, I've turned about 50 people onto it that are fans of 20 different schools, and they're going, I would give anything to have a guy like Urban Meyer at my coach. I don't want some soft guy who's trying to be the players' friends and who is money drunk and has 80 people on the staff and 85 players that are coming and going at will. We've got to get control of this mess and have some structure.
Yeah, you got to keep it simple, stupid a little bit, like but you got to have somebody that's going to come in and I don't know. Look, buddy, Dad, do you tear it down to the rails? Is it that broken? Because that's what we heard before Billy got here. He's got to take it down to the struts, start over again. Is that the deal?
Well, first of all, you say we have to get control of this Rob. I mean, who's we? That's the question. There's a whole bunch of different we's out there, and you're right about the core values. Secondly, is what you're going to have to do is identify the person and give him the world and say, "Come and do what you want to." Let him decide what he wants to do. Does he want to tear it down? The administrators cannot decide how to build a football team. They don't know how to build a football team. They need a coach.
No.
They need a football person, an Urban Meyer or whoever, to come in and build the program back, because the program's on the dead rail right now. And I hate.
Nah, that just made, I thought that's what we were doing, though. God, this sucks.
No coach wants to tear it down.
No, I know, but
you know what? I'm gonna just say this. Yeah.
Thanks for the $5, Animal. Really appreciate the money. We do this for free, so thank you very much. I will say, Rob, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I couldn't hear you.
Is the bottom line is I don't know what to do. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Think about this, guys. Who are just a few years ago we had some outstanding coaches in basketball. Coach K, Roy Williams. They said to hell with this stuff. I'll tell you right now, we've got the tail wagging the dog in college athletics. And we've got to get rid of these soft, weak people and put in some alpha male badasses. We're not going to lose college football, but the market has to correct. And the free market, buddy, you have famously said, who owns college football? Who? Buddy?
Well, it used to be the fans. I don't know anymore. The money people seem to have to control the outcome, and they can't take the fans out of it. They need the fans to make it work.
That's right.
And I don't know. The organization, top to bottom, I don't know. I'm so disappointed in Billy. He is not able to affect change. That's his biggest problem. He can talk it. He knows what to do, but he can't affect change. And he got lucky and got a quarterback and got a young man that we had a full promise. And what'd that change?
Well, now everyone, we've warmed you all up, all 700 of you. By the way, the number that you see, we're streaming to 7 platforms, by the way. We got 2 Twitter channels. If you like Twitter, you can watch both of these shows on Rob Sidelines.live on Twitter. And then you've got Buddy Martin is at Buddy Show. If you watch it on Twitter, that's YouTube. Buddy's camera is going to, tilt down there. There you go. It was like reality TV there. Anyways, we got wait, what happened to Franz? Franz was just here. Where'd you go, Franz? Franz, come back. Wherever you went.
Probably
no, he just was in. He just popped in, and now he's gone. I was giving him a big a cue there. But Franz, if you're there, buddy, text him. I don't have my phone's dead. Text Franz and tell him to come back in.
But thinking about these coaches, everybody's going to bring up Dan Lanning's name from Oregon. I've got a friend whose son is on the staff with Dan Lanning, Matt Dean, who's on our show with us on Thursdays, Brendan. Y'all know that Florida – nobody is a better face for Florida athletics than y'all. You and your dad and Lauren, Franz, this whole team, okay? I just think you need to listen to the fans. They are the heart and soul of your program. And I would get the powerful boosters to go in there that know football. You got to have football people running the football program and take all the personal – who cares if you hurt people's feelings? I don't care. I want to see a program win. I detest losing. I want to be the first one out of bed.
The problem is you're caught with your
Urban
pants
Meyer.
down.
I love that guy.
You're caught with your pants down with no real president, right?
Then
you want to get rid of the AD Scott Strickland because he's always been a deal, a twofer with Billy seemingly. So you really don't know, like, where do you go? Who makes these decisions? Like, is there a shadow government or something for the University of Florida that's going to come in and take over? Because it's seemingly they're like, and Buddy, I'm not the one that brought this up. Buddy is the one that brought it up earlier, and he's right. It's just, where do you go because there's no one to talk to. It's like, the parents are out of town and the teenagers are home having a party.
Risky business.
It is risky business. So I don't know. It's a real quandary right now.
I suppose, and this is not proven to be a workable theory in other situations. Look no further than Jimbo Fisher and other places. Is that you say, okay, we're serious about this. We're going to go all in. Going to get the guy. We're going to get the guy, whoever it is. We're going to get him and bring him here, and whatever it takes is what it takes. Take out your checkbooks, get the check out, go give Lane Kiffin $13 million a year for 8 years, whatever it takes, and say, okay, he's here. He's going to build a program. We're all in on him, and you better get used to him because he's not going anywhere. And you take your position on it. But the fact is, here's how it happened. Billy was a product of a so-called coaching search, and Scott Strickland knew who he wanted right off the bat. I knew a little bit about him. I'd watched him coach. I wasn't sure if he was the right guy at the time or not, but we all thought we could learn. And staunchly, Scott Strickland put his foot in the ground and said, no, this is our guy. We're sticking with him. We're not going to fire him. We got our guy here. We're giving him what he needs. And look what he got. My gosh, wasn't long ago we didn't have any facilities. Now we got a $90 million facility and spending all these millions on coaches and all these millions on recruiting and whatever, and we still got the same crap. So who made that decision? Well, Scott Strickland and his bosses did. Somebody has to be aware of the fact they should be culpable for some of that. But you put your place in, and what happens is they all get together. They get all these agents. Mm-hmm. Sorry, who's the hot guy? Who do you want? They all tell you, well, they're worth 3 times more than they're getting paid. And so it drives the market up. I don't know where to go for an honest answer, but clearly there is no strategy. And I don't know that there will be any strategy until somebody's head breaks.
Well, let me throw this at y'all. Does Florida have a board of regents, board of trustees, whatever? Because I'll ask you this, and not that they get it right every time. Do you think Alabama used a search committee to find Nick Saban? I know a lot about that because I was on the 6th floor working at Regions Morgan Keegan when Jimmy Sexton was on the 5th floor. No. Mal Moore was told, you go to Miami, you camp outside of Nick Saban's gate to his house, and you don't come back without him. I know a little about Alabama. I'm telling you, you've got to have some strong leadership right now. But I'm not saying this just because you're on this show, but I love you. I would go to you. I'm serious. I would go to you and Brendan and y'all, and I'd say, help us. You've got to. Gator culture, the Gator Nation is ginormous, but you got to go get these search committees. I know people who've been victims of search committees. I mean, you get these personal little political vendettas, people on a search committee about something that happened to somebody. No, you get some football men in there that know football and those powerful boosters who run big companies and know how to get things done, regardless of how many people's feelings they hurt and how many mean tweets they put out. And you go get the person who will come in. When Nick Saban got to Alabama, there wasn't any debate. He just said, I'm running things and get out of my way. And it worked out pretty damn well. You want that big a personality at Florida, but I'd listen to y'all. I've watched from afar for the last, 3 years having y'all doing shows together with y'all. Y'all know Florida football. You know that culture. When Ward Pell was on our show, talked about Charlie Pell sitting on the front porch with Ben Hill Griffin for 3 or 4 hours one Sunday afternoon eating swamp cabbage, but he left with the largest check ever given to Florida athletics. And Franz Beard, you know Florida football. Y'all deserve better than this. And I don't care whose feelings you got to hurt, who you got to fire. Go get the right one.
Yeah. Franz Beard joins the phone. Welcome, Franz. What the hell is going on
tonight, Franz?
Change our name to the Florida Catfish. We live among the bottom feeders.
Oh. I saw that text earlier. Almost went off the road.
That hurts.
I don't know what to say, and I've gotten probably
I'm with you.
100 texts so far. And, we saw a lot of things today. We saw a defense that's horrendous. We saw same old, just like we have for the last 3 years, actually the last 4 years. third and Grantham, I would take third and Grantham all day long over what we've seen the last 3 years. Goodness, terrible defense. Offensive line, we got one player. Jake Slaughter is a player. On either side of him, it's like we got a thoroughbred running with 4 donkeys. Jake Slaughter's as good a center as there is in the Southeastern Conference, bar none. Najee Harris on the left side has got a chance to be pretty good, but he's still not ready. Damian George on the right side, in 2 years has a chance to be 2 years older. The 2 tackles on the big sack that was for 15 yards to Lagway in the first half, I've never seen a Florida left tackle miss as badly as Austin Barber missed.
God.
I mean, that was
so bad.
I think somebody asked me if I could have done a better job than Austin Barber. I said, well, maybe a couple years ago, but I may have lost a step or two since then. I've not seen anything like it, and you know something, it's time to just call it out for what it is. The players aren't that bad, but the coaching is, and that means they keep changing. You look at all the coaches that we've had since we've been here. The 2 positions that are well coached: wide receivers and running backs. Period. That's it. You can't tell me the offensive line is. They got 2 coaches and neither one of them seem to be able to do anything. The offensive coordinator is the head coach, and I'm not real happy with him right now. Russ Callaway, the tight ends coach. Everybody talks about that he's a bright young coach, but Arliss Boardingham hasn't made any progress whatsoever since he's been here. I watched him tonight, and I was not impressed. Over on the defensive side, I don't
can't make tackles. Still can't make tackles.
Well, they can't make tackles. They, as Shane Matthews pointed out at halftime, how do you expect to get to the quarterback when you're starting your blitz from 15, 18 yards off the line of scrimmage?
I don't know. It just all night, France. It just seemed like like it always has seemed. There wasn't a Gator within 5-10 yards of a couple of the touchdowns. It just seemed so lost. Defense seems so lost. Like they just don't know where to be.
Poorly coached.
Poorly
let's not sugarcoat it. They're poorly coached. I mean, the ball gets right in the hands of a linebacker and he can't catch it. Jason Marshall, who should know better.
Yeah.
You stick your arm out and you grab a guy on the way by, you're going to get flagged.
Yeah.
The one chance they have to make a play there in the first half, all of a sudden you get a penalty for holding, and he got him. No question about it. He got him. I mean, I watched the replay. He got his hands full of jersey. He may not have intended to. He may have intended to just chuck him with that hand, but when you do that, you got to remember you can't grab, and he did. Got caught. I'm looking at the stats from today, and God, Lord knows they're horrendous.
Out of your stomach, you can't bear to read them. I can't look at it. It makes me sick of my stomach.
Well, let's see here. Let's just go right down here. They ran 72 total plays to Florida's 54. They had the ball 37 minutes and 46 seconds to Florida's 22-14. They passed for 178, and that's because they may not have thrown more than about 2 or 3 passes in the second half. They ran for 310 yards, and my gosh, let me see how many. This is the thing that's always telling is big plays. Big plays. They had 5 pass plays, big plays, pass plays for 159 yards. 10 big play rushing plays for 164. So what's that? 323 of their yards that were big play for the whole game. 323 yards came on 15 plays. I mean, that's just absolutely horrendous. And when you have 15 plays that do that, how many plays did they run again? They ran, so their other 57 plays gained 150 yards. You hold them less than 3 yards a play the rest of the time, but they get the big plays.
They came in. The defense for Texas A&M run defense was 10th in the country coming into the game. They shut down Florida's run game.
And here's the other thing.
Non-existent.
They started a true freshman quarterback who didn't even know he was going to play, much less start, until 20 minutes before the game when Connor Wegman comes over there and says, "I can't go. My shoulder's killing me."
Yeah.
So they start a true freshman. And we learned tonight why DJ Lagway, he's an enormous talent, but
he's a freshman.
Why he's not ready for the game.
Yeah.
They blitzed on every play, and we can see it upstairs. Okay, blitz is coming from the right side. So what does he not see? Blitz coming from the right side. Blitz is coming up the middle. Here it comes up the middle. Doesn't see it. And, of course, he didn't get a lot of help from his offensive line. Like I said, Jake Slaughter will grade out well. The other 4 will grade out poorly. Very, very poorly.
So, Franz, what do you do now? We've all talked about it. Is it a get rid of them just to get rid of them now? So you can protect yourself for December? So you got to have that signing period. You got to have that, so do you just say the hell with it now, jettison the whole deal, or do you have to ride them out to the end?
You can't afford to ride them out to the end. And that, as much as I hate to say it, you can't. And because here's the thing, you can't be unfair to the other recruits. You got to fire them now, and you got to be able to convince these other recruits, these kids that have already recruited, like Vernell Brown III, like these wide receivers. If you will be patient, don't make a decision to decommit or anything like that until December when we have a new coach. At that point in time, you're on your own. But will you hold off until then?
9 to 6.
That's the only thing they can do, guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all that we can do, and I think we're all sort of at the. I've done this show with you all now a bunch, and if anyone's done a lot of shows with everyone, I have, and I've never seen this panel of people just lost for words, and I think that's probably the best way to describe it in a lot of ways because we don't know. I think right now, even as the media, we don't know what's going to happen next.
I'm not lost for words, Brendan.
I'm not. I think we all have lots of words that sorry, Dad. I know you're trying. I just. Yeah. Well, I guess I've never seen my own father say I got nothing.
I need to go to bed.
I've never seen Buddy like this ever.
Yeah.
I've never seen Franz like this.
No,
the text that I was getting from Franz, I look up to y'all. I mean, Brendan, both of us do. They're our mentors, coaches. I can tell you right now. But I think what is going on in college football, Kentucky 9, Georgia 6, late third quarter, Toledo 35-10 at Mississippi State. Watch out, people. You think it's cute, all these guys getting this NIL, driving their fancy cars. We better put some structure back in this. Florida's not the only school that's a mess, but they're the biggest brand in America that's this dysfunctional. There's no reason. Florida's an $850 million brand. And there's no reason that this program can't go get them a coach. Buddy, look, you're wise. You look flummoxed. I mean, and I'm not trying to bum you out, but what you're seeing on the field, these guys look like they don't care. And it starts at the top.
I think they care. I'm a bad one to ask. I'm coming off COVID. We're just coming off a week of COVID, and I'm trying to understand what I saw today. And I'm disappointed like other Gator fans because I bought in. I thought he was going to change it. I kept holding on to the last minute thinking, well, he's got a chance. It's over. It's not happening. He's gone. He needs to get a ticket out of town and start looking for his next job. Wow. And Florida's got to hire an interim coach, beg somebody to come in and coach and go get a top guy.
Here's the thing, buddy. Who, other than, I would say, Billy Gonzalez or Jabbar Jalouk, and neither one of them have ever been a head coach, but those are the only two coaches that they've got that I trust.
Well, no coach is going to take it from the outside, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure that is. I just don't have any answers. Who would take it? Because
Jed Fish, friends, you know his story.
Well, here's the guy that they've got.
Buddy, we're going to say goodnight to you. I know you're tired. You have COVID. He's tired. I know.
Good night, buddy. Get better.
All right. Good night, buddy. Good night, Dad. Love you. Right,
talk to you tomorrow.
They do have one coach on the staff who has head coaching experience. And he's got SEC experience, not as a head coach, but as a coordinator. And that's Dan Enos, who has worked for Nick Saban, who he coached a guy named Dan Lefevre, who, if you check the record books, is one of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks in history at Central Michigan. He's a guy that knows the SEC. He's been a coordinator at Alabama and Arkansas and some other places. He knows the game. Now, would you take a guy who's been an analyst and promote him to head ball coach? I don't know. Would you? I sure don't know that answer. But I know this, that when you look at what they've got, Billy Gonzalez has a unit that plays really well. Those wide receivers are really good wide receivers. Jabbar Jalouk, nothing wrong with our running backs, really. But would you promote Rob Sale? No, not the way his offensive line is playing.
No.
Russ Callaway. They say he's bright and everything like that, but
I think for me right now, because I guess I'm at the point with it where I feel like, and I felt this way for a while, and I've not really ever come out too harsh about it, but I've felt like it's a little bit of a con job here. And I felt this way for a while. I've not been a Billy guy from the jump street. I've never really liked him. I've tried to like him. I've never liked his coaching. I've never been a fan of him. I've been very, more vocal about it the last year or so. But I just feel like now it's like, it's the premise. It's like, look, man, I don't know who we get, but you're not doing the effing job. So you're fired because you are not performing. It's a performance thing at this point. You're fired because you can't do your job effectively. You're fired when the media asks you a question, your answer is, I don't know. Your answer is, I'm not sure. And your players' answers, like Graham Mertz, he was the same way. He doesn't know. They don't know what's wrong. And that's the problem.
And Graham Mertz, to his credit, after a week in which everybody was saying that guy has to be Lagway, Mertz needs to be benched, goes out there 12 for 15, 195 yards, had an interception, yes, but that was because the wide receiver tipped the ball up at the same time. It arrived and went up in the air and got picked off. That's one of these ones that's not on the quarterback. DJ was a freshman. absolutely was a freshman, and we saw that tonight. The kid was
Tough
an
job to
enormous.
come in, though. It's tough to come in and not start. It's a tough position to come in like that and have it
Well,
all.
not
on
only
you.
that, Brendan.
That's a tough position. And you get the delay.
Somebody has to teach the kid that you stick your right foot in the ground, you shove off of it onto the left foot, and the ball goes forward. You don't throw off the front foot.
Yeah, but you know when you do that, though? But you know when you do that? When you're doing that from experience, you're trying to aim the ball. You're more nervous about throwing a pick. So you have no confidence in your follow through and you have no confidence in your stroke. It's simple. When you throw off your back foot, you're aiming it because you're scared. And you should be scared because you just had to come in and try to save the Gators from absolute death. And your damn coaches over there is on the line. I mean, the reason that the goddamn players are actually coming up and drinking the Kool-Aid of Billy is because he's made them feel guilty that he might get fired. He's like somehow bought them in emotionally. It's like the long con of the whole thing. It just sucks. It's like bad parenting, you know? It's such a psychological deal, and it's left everybody in this place of bewilderment and like lost for answers. And it sucks because now this has massive ripple effect. I had 3 or 4 Bull Gators walking to the parking lot with me on the way back, and they were so pissed off. They've been season ticket holders since 1977, and they're like, we're done. They're like, we don't want to come back here anymore. They're pissed and they're done. And it is he was supposed to fix it.
Well,
and he got enough money, he got enough rope, and now he's hung himself, and now he's got to go.
Here's the problem, guys. We're seeing the same mistake being made. Back in the day, any coach that got gas in Tuscaloosa when Coach Bryant was there, he's a Bryant man. He knows what he's doing. It's the same thing's happening with Saban. This guy Billy Napier was with Dabo, but he was with Saban. Okay, but he's not Dabo and he's not Saban by any means. And I was just throwing Jed Fish and some names out there. I don't know who you want to get as your coach, but you better get a strong figure who is in charge. But you got to have somebody that looks like he wants the job. The longer I've watched this thing, I'm sorry, you can say don't blame the players. They all need to share in the blame because we've got guys now that are coming in at all these schools, getting money, and their heart's not into it. How many of these guys on that Florida roster love the University of Florida? How many of y'all love playing football? Do we do the Oklahoma drill anymore in practice? Do we do hard physical? Huh?
You're not allowed.
See, that's the problem. This is where we are. We got to stop the candy ass and get back. This is a man's game played by men. We got to get – this is why we're in this mess, and that's why a guy like this is in his 3rd year at Florida.
Well, here's something, guys. First off, they don't hit, period.
Yeah,
period.
And
ridiculous.
You're limited in the amount of hitting you do, but as I understand it, Florida doesn't hit, period, during the week. I don't know that to be true necessarily, but I remember Urban Meyer used to call it Bloody Tuesday.
Bloody Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because that was the day you got in there and you found out who wanted to play on Saturday.
Yeah.
Was on Tuesday. You hit on Tuesday. Wednesday you did some hitting, but Wednesday was to fine-tune the fine-tune things. Thursday was the day that you put both the offense and the defensive game plans together on the same field, and Friday you have a walkthrough. That's how it used to be. Now they don't hit.
No.
And they're not hitting at all. And it shows in the fact that I'm guessing they had 40 missed tackles tonight.
Yeah.
And I made that, and that may be just the first half.
Yeah. We have got to quit playing this candy ass game. It's trickled into football. They're not locking up. They're not hitting. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't care who you're a fan of. God loved Tim Tebow and that picture of him covered in blood, fighting for his team. You know what? I want the locker room full of guys after a loss that are crying and smashing their lockers, mad as hell. What we've got now is guys that are going out and getting into a $250,000 car, and driving away. And how many how many of these coaches know their players? They're worried about them leaving, so they're kissing their ass. And it's not just Florida. It's everywhere. It is time we put men back in charge, alpha male culture, because this doesn't work. And it's the problem. Florida, you get a strong figure. The fact that Billy Napier never sat down with Buddy, it's kind of like a president not meeting with Billy Graham in the day. Okay? Why would you not do that with a guy who's loved by the Florida people? I'm just seeing this
because you're not because you don't believe that you're the right man for the job, and you know someone who's been there for 40 plus years might out you right then and there and dress you down because you may not have the right answer and you don't go do it. Instead of facing it like Urban Meyer, who walked in the room the second time he was in the room, says, "Who's that guy in the front row? I want to talk to him." And talking about Buddy, he wants to face. He wants to learn from people who are older than him and get the ways. But that's the thing, and there's just a lot of that along the way. It's the fan experience, which I was talking to the Bull Gators about tonight. It's different. The stadium feels different in there. It feels different. It looks different. The logo looks different. Everything has been touched a little bit differently. And I just feel like all the wrong things we're worried about, all the things that we shouldn't have worried about, we worried about. We put too many coaches on the sidelines. We got too many assistants. We renamed things. We called things that weren't things that there now are things. We put a damn DJ playing bad music in the stadium. Things got different, and they got too different, and the culture changed. And I think that's what Gator fan is really upset about right now, is that the culture is changing. And it's not a good thing. And maybe timing sucks for the NIL and the transfer portal and all just being bad timing for Florida. But to talk about that, we got to go rebuild again after we were rebuilding when we rebuilt before the last time we rebuilt.
Yeah.
That was over 10 years ago. And I don't know a program that really can sustain much more.
Well, Brendan, look, you got to fire Billy Napier is the first thing you got to do. I mean, y'all, if he's got to go by, the longer you keep him around, the more it's looked like this is Florida football. He's hurting your brand. And because I just think that the money these coaches get, how upset are they after a loss? I want a locker room full of players and coaches that are devastated after a loss. I mean, they got to get back up. But I know – people, there's these message boards. People, you know what Florida does not have? An apathetic fan base. Because they don't, they'll fix this.
I don't know, Franz.
Well,
you fire him right now, Franz, or you write him out for the season?
I think for the sake of the program, and I hate to say this, because I mean, I like Billy Napier personally. But this isn't about liking or disliking somebody.
No.
You know, I know guys who played for Bear Bryant for 4 years who tell me they still hate him, but they love him at the same time, because they say they hate him because he pushed him and pushed him and pushed him and prodded him, called him names, did whatever. But they look back on it now and realize that he knew what button to push to get them to be their best.
Correct.
Okay? And, you know, same was true with a guy named Shug Jordan, and same was true with Ray Graves and Gene Ellenson when they were running Florida. Charlie Pell was the same way. There aren't a lot of coaches. Nick got out of it because Nick thought that they're trying to take the what makes football out of the game. I was texting with someone very, very close to a former Florida head coach tonight. Not going to give names out because that person wouldn't want me to. But I said, I don't think he would coach again. And the answer was no, he wouldn't. I said, what I wouldn't mind seeing him do, though, would be for everybody in Division I to tell the NCAA to, you know, stick it where the sun doesn't shine, start a new organization, and put him in charge. Because he's very big on rules and regs and everything like that. Sammy doesn't even like this.
That's not Sam. He's got his own dog farm up there. Rob does. He got a new puppy in there.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I had my parrot on with me earlier, but I had to put her in because she was hungry.
You know who used to have a parrot on his shoulder all the time? The famous wrestler. Remember Coco Beware?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a macaw, but trust me, she would start screaming because she doesn't like what happened to the gators either, or should I say the catfish?
Let me
the catfish. Yeah, the
I want to
feeder.
throw something at y'all. We're gonna fix this mess. It's a chaos right now. I believe in the free market, in the fans, but I think what we are at right now with Florida, and these your fans are smart. You've got a very passionate fan base. With that, you're going to fix it. But I mean, I'm just curious, who is going to make the call? Who is the power broker? In Alabama, you've had Paul Bryant Jr. We know the people. I know the people at Alabama. I know the people at Ole Miss. Who are those people at Ole Miss that are going to go to the president and say, all right, listen here, y'all could screw up a 2-car funeral with these last few hires and the way you're doing it. Football is a tough, mentally tough, physically tough game. Nobody wants anybody to get hurt, but we're making better equipment than we've ever had. The game is being made safe because of people like Exo Armor, and all the helmets are getting better. We cannot emasculate football. I don't want people getting hurt. We don't want that, but we're doing it. What do we want? What are we going to do? We've got to decide right now, because you look at Florida. Here we are on a Saturday night at 10:43 p.m. Eastern. This tells you right now, Florida's fans have had it with this coach. Just looking at, my God, look at the message board. Brendan, unbelievable to be part of this. But y'all's fans deserve better.
Well, I just feel like in a lot of ways, and this is a bigger conversation for the week, but look, technology in sports, AI in sports, these things are all changing things in the next 5 years in ways that most people have no idea. And it's directly affecting coaching. We're going to see a de-escalation in the importance of the head football coach based on the fact that there is going to be other ways to sort of organize your program and organize things with technology. And we're going to delve more into that, Rob, with a lot of things that we learned this year at SEC Media Days during it. But there's a lot of interesting things right now that I think is going to really continue to morph the game. And right now, Florida's, right at the bottom, or, the bottom feeders of a lot. Like, this is our rock bottom before, like, we're going to AA, we're drinking like a 12-pack in the back of the car so we don't get the DTs and have a freaking heart attack. Like, and that's dropping us off like with a, and that's it. So like Lauren said, we're here. I don't. There needs to be leadership from above that's beyond, and unfortunately, it's not going to be Strickland. And I think Franz, did they reach into the old bag of tricks there and call up the old guard, because it feels like it's like the A team needs to come back together for one like round tour of like get the old band back together, fire it up, and bring in Spurrier.
Friends, come on.
Just get everyone, draw some plays in the dirt, and just, you go deep, you cut them up.
Here's what one former Florida
you run a skinny post.
Here's what one former Florida quarterback said this evening. He said, get a bunch of former Florida football players, call them up and tell them, hey, we'll give you $100,000 a game for the rest of the season, but come here, take over, coach the team the rest of the year, have some fun while we go out and hire people and clear everybody else out. That's what he said, because he's of the opinion that it's all got to come to an end.
Right, people are going to get hurt out there. I mean, that's the vibe. That's the feeling. Like, I don't want to put Lagway out there. He's going to get hurt.
Well, here's the thing that I'm going to tell you that you got to do right now. I'm told that the money is there already for the dismissal of the head coach and
yeah,
and
right
his
here.
staff. I'm told that money's already there. What you got to do now is it's going to cost you probably $50 million to hire a new coach.
Right, because you
Probably.
got to have to get someone.
You're going to
money.
have to buy him out. You're going to have to give him a big. You're going to have to give him a big deal, probably with whatever you're going to pay him. If you're going to pay him $7 million, you're going to have to pay him $7 million up front, plus give him his deal. So figure $14 million there. You pay you bought out some other coach and staff. That's probably $25 million, $14 million. Then you're going to need $11 million to hire new staff. So $50 million. Any way you look at it. Then, and we hadn't even gotten to this point, then you got to go out there and you got to pony up some NIL money, because guess what? You're going to lose a lot of players from this roster. I promise you it's going to happen because the money's going to be out there. So how are you going to rebuild? You got to get somebody that's good enough, like he's not coming, but I'm going to use his name, like Lane Kiffin. He's not coming. He's going to have his team in the playoff. He can't take the job. He may win the national championship, which means he could be going until January 20th. Can't have that happen. Okay.
No.
You're going to have to go out there and hire a real coach who can get it done. And so who is that? That means you're going to have to hire somebody that knows how to use the portal, because that's where your answers are going to be. I use Lane's name because Lane Kiffin has shown in the last 2 years that nobody knows how to use the portal better than he does. You look at his team this year. They won tonight. Let me just go down his list of skill people real quick and tell you and give you an idea of who's transfers and who aren't for Ole Miss right here. Okay, the quarterback is Jackson Dart, transfer. Henry Parrish Jr., transfer. Ulysses Bentley IV, transfer. Trey Harris, transfer. Antoine Wells Jr., transfer. And on and on and on. Go over on the defensive side. Chris Paul Jr., transfer. Trey Amos, transfer. John Saunders Jr., transfer. Walter Nolan, transfer. And on and on. J.J. Pegues, transfer. Princely Umanmielen, transfer. Brandon Turnage, Xavier Harris. I mean, all these guys are transfers. It can be done. You can have the right guy, okay? And that's what it takes. You can have the right guy, but it's got to be somebody who's good enough to bring in players and say, here's the deal. If you want to play for me, it is called my way or the highway. And if you do not wish to do it my way, then you're not coming here anyway. I'm looking right here. I'm going to go down their roster. Transfers from Ole Miss. Rashad Amos from Miami, Ohio. Trey Amos from Alabama. Yam Banks, South Alabama. Ulysses Bentley from SMU. Lex Book, I can't pronounce his last name, Nicholls State. And on here. Texas A&M, Caden Davis, Texas A&M, Jackson Dart, Southern Cal. Logan Diggs, LSU. TJ Daugherty, Clemson. This is a guy that knows what he's doing. They won tonight 40-6. They gained about 80 bazillion yards once again. And they just kind of toyed. And I emphasize that. They just toyed with Wake Forest Gump. I mean, they could have, if they had wanted the score to be 80-6, they would. But Lane wasn't going to let that happen because he likes the coach at Wake Forest. He's one of his friends. And he's not going to embarrass him. any more than beating him somebody 40-6 would embarrass him. And it's going to take somebody like that knows how to bring in a transfer roster and then manipulate it. Now, do you want to know who I would go after? Because I don't think he's going to make the playoff, but you know who I would go after?
Who?
Lincoln Riley.
Well,
big enough name. I don't think he's going to be happy playing in the Big Ten. I think he'd rather be in the SEC. And he left because he didn't want to be with Oklahoma in the SEC. But now that he's out there and suddenly they're in the Big Ten, I think it's only going to take one time for him to be at Michigan State in November when the snow's fallen to figure out what's this white stuff. Are we supposed to be playing football in this white stuff? I mean, they
got nice jackets for that now. Hey, by the way, A&M looked nice and cool on the sidelines. They had a nice little tent thing going on that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't we?
Yeah, but you got to admit, let's be real. I mean, I'm looking there. Florida sends its dance team out there, and we got girls who can dance the boogaloo and can, what do they call it, twerk and twist and throw. I mean, we got girls with moves.
That's what they call it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Over on the A&M sideline, they got 4 guys in white shirts who do all this like this, and people go, "Oh, look at the Yale leaders! They are so cool." And then they have 8 guys standing up there in full military regalia, including hip waiter boots, and everything. And they're standing there, and I don't know what. And they got towels, and they're doing this with it. Like,
we make everyone.
What are you practicing at for being in an adult bookstore or something? I don't know.
We make everyone look good. Our defense is so bad, we make everyone look good, Rob.
Well, look, okay. Missouri 27-21. They beat Boston College. The SEC in college football right now, I'm seeing some of the most sorry ass coaching I've ever seen across the country. And you know what? Lincoln Riley, ran like a scalded dog to the Pac-12 when he saw that Oklahoma was going into the SEC. That guy was born on third base and thought he hit a triple as a coach. Yeah. Okay, I will say this. This is a problem, and it's manifesting itself at Florida, poorly coached. Auburn, they don't look like they're coached very well. They're struggling with New Mexico. Right now, Georgia's ahead of Kentucky in Lexington, fourth quarter, 13-12. I'll say this about Jimmy Sexton. He has like 11 or maybe 12 of the 16 coaches in the SEC. All right? He plays that game. But you know what you better watch out for with coaches going forward with this mess is Nick Saban is doing commercials like Peyton Manning, okay? He's going to go to these coaches and say, "Hey, man, do you want to keep dealing with this pressure and all this crazy zoo? You want to make $1 million or $2 million a pop doing these commercials? I'll just line you up, from one set to the next, to the next, to the next." Kind of like a guy, some of these actors like Ben Stiller or whatever his name is. He's in every movie. They just move him from one set to the next. We are in a precarious situation right now in college football. Get back to hitting. Let's get back to the football. All we're talking about right now is these guys' NIL contracts. And, Carson Beck driving a $285,000 Lamborghini SUV. People I know that have money, they don't tell you they have it. Old money clients that I manage their money for, they drive 10 and 15-year-old cars. This is ridiculous. And I'm telling you, it is affecting college football. Billy Napier, so he spent some time with Dabo. He spent some time with Nick Saban. I'm excited about, Brendan, Coach Ellis Johnson will be on the show with us Monday morning. I'll tell you right now, that's why so many coaches are walking away and saying, "I don't want to mess with this. If I can't coach them and be tough on these guys, how can I coach?" Look, if I'm Florida, I do go after Lane Kiffin. I offer him everything. I offer him ownership of the University of Florida. But I don't know if he'll leave. I just think he loves it at Ole Miss, and they can pay anything. Dickie Scruggs alone got $700 million on the tobacco settlement. He's got buildings all over that campus named after him. There's 14 other attorneys at Ole Miss that got $300 and $400 million. Some of them, they've got money. Jim Barksdale, Netscape.
Doesn't matter. It's not Florida.
But
It's
here's
not
what
big enough.
here's what they
matter.
can't say.
The stage isn't big enough. He won't.
But here's what they can't say at Ole Miss. They cannot say what Florida can say. Is in the last 30 years, we've won 3 national championships and 8 or 9 SEC championships. Ole Miss hadn't won an SEC title in 60 years. That's why I think Kiffin could leave. And Rick Cleveland was on the show with us about 3 weeks ago. Great writer for the Clarion Ledger. He said, I think Lane is not done moving. I think he's got at least one more move. And I think he would I'll bet you this. I'll bet you a sack full of crystals. Lane Kiffin listens to whatever Florida has to say, but bring the right people from Florida to talk to him.
By the way, I gotta clarify. When we say a sack full of crystals, we're not talking about Breaking Bad and crystal meth. We're talking about crystals, burgers. Yeah. Okay, it's the hotline. It's fired. See, Fran's getting this.
Look. They've got over 11,000 people. 11,000 people in the Grove Collective at Ole Miss, but they can only sign a 4-year contract in the state of Mississippi. That's a state law. LSU stuck for 10 years and $100 million with Brian Kelly. Ole Miss, the state of Mississippi is only a 4-year deal. I would listen to Florida. Who wouldn't? You'd be crazy not to.
I agree. I don't think Lane, I think Lane would like the big states. I think he wants to win some national championships. I think that's always been a discussion. But look, right now, I mean, God, you just got to get through this season and see if you can stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
You've got to stop the bleed. You're wounded now. And we got to stop the bleeding. So I don't know what's going on there, friends, but we lost them.
Do you want to bring an NFL coach in, though? I mean, Monday morning's going to be crazy on this show.
I think right now you could, because you're going to have the money, but you got to go get the money. You got to figure out how much money there is. I think I've had some information. I think I just looked at a sheet. And that's that sheet I sent you last week, Rob. What was it? 80. Yeah. How much was it? $80 million on the Bull Gators sheet? What was it? I was just looking at. How much money was in the bank? I have to read about my glasses on. I think I have them in my head. But nonetheless, like, there's money to be paid out. Everyone's talking about there's money today, and it's no big secret. Today seemed like, or this game seemed like there was a foregone conclusion that everyone knew that Billy was gone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Billy knew he was gone, and I felt like the players knew that he was gone, and I think that's why we didn't see any piling on in the press conference, because nobody wants to dance on anyone's grave out the door, right? And I think everyone's trying to be classy in that thing, but it felt like today the reason, and maybe that's been the conversation all along, but I talked to a couple of people in the press box today, and the dialogue was very interesting, which was, hey, look, if we are not sure who was calling plays the last 2 games, that there is discrepancy on Billy called one and we don't know someone called the other game, that means there is a lot of dysfunction in that house, and there is a lot of problems, and there's more problems than we're willing to be letting on. And that's why we just stopped seeing everything, and we got to go to practices and all that kind of stuff, because there was a realization. But there was definitely, there's Franz, but there was definitely a like as if he knew he was already cooked.
What you got to do, look, Lane, the Ole Miss collective exploded when Lane Kiffin was flirting with Auburn before Freeze was hired. It blew up. They did not, but I'm telling you, I know Ole Miss. Don't tell me they don't have money. I know these people. I know the ones contributing. They've got a lot of money. They put a $350 million stadium expansion project on hold so they can have money for NIL. Kiffin doesn't like to mess with high school players. He goes to Florida. He's in one of the top 1 or 2 states in the country for high school talent. No matter what happens, Florida's got to get this hire right. They need a new AD, and they need a new football coach, and they need to do it quickly, friends.
Well, here's the guy. Let's get past all the sweet and juicies, okay? That's what I call Lane Kiffin, and I'd love to get Lane, but He's not coming. Period. He's not. Is not. Get rid of that notion because he is not coming. Okay? And here's the guy that here is a guy that you got to look at. Chris Kleeman at Kansas State. Hell of a coach, won national championships in Division I AA at North Dakota State. At K-State, they are really good. I mean, really, really good. And he's won. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State has never had the resources that you've got at Florida, but he's a guy that is a proven
Got some
winner.
passion though, that guy. Get a little passion in that guy. That's good.
I mean, here's a guy that will call people out. He's had, I don't care how many offensive coordinators he's had, they've always scored points and lots of them. I remember at one point in time, they led the NCAA, or they were either first or third in the NCAA in total offense for like something like four straight years. And all of 4 years, they did it with a different offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinator kept getting hired at a place where they'd make more money. But anyway, I think that we got to be talking about guys. Matt Scott. You can tell me I'm full of crap, but you know what? I'm out there saying it. So you know what? Take a leap. Okay? I'm not full of crap. I got my opinions just like you have. So I just called you out. Okay? So, there. I don't just run my mouth. I've been doing this stuff for 53 years. So, take a leap, okay?
Who was that?
I've
You
been
talking about
doing
on the
stuff
chat
longer
board?
than you guys have been alive. Now, am I entitled to opinions? Yeah. Do I have the right to say we got to look for guys that are good coaches who could do it? Oh, what was I wrong at? Yeah, I was wrong. I thought that they wouldn't fire Billy, but I didn't think things would get this bad.
Friends, here's a question. I guess you're talking about people on the message board. You weren't talking to me just then. I mean,
No, I'm talking to some of these loudmouths over here.
Let me. This is,
guys. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. Have I gotten it right all the time? Not really. No. But you know what? I put my name out there, and I don't hide behind message boards or anything like that. I put my name out there, and guess what? Sometimes I get it right, and sometimes, just like everybody else, I get it wrong. Okay?
Well, the way I see it, friends, that Florida, Alabama from 1997 to 2007 had an 11-year period where they lost 8 of those 11 years. They lost 5 games or more. And that includes Nick Saban's first year in 2007. Okay. Any school can get it wrong. 1982 to 2002, 20 years. Southern Cal had 1 year where they won double-digit games out of 20 years. Oklahoma after Switzer, Gary Gibbs, John Blake, Howard Schnellenberger. You pick the school, Texas, and in the last 14 years prior to this season, they've only won double-digit games twice in the last 14 years. Since they went into the Big 12 was formed in 1996, Texas has only won it, I think, 3 or 4 times. Okay? Every school, it doesn't matter. If money can solve it, it ain't a problem. The problem is when you got a school, as you say, only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. A&M's endowment's over $20 billion. Texas almost $43 billion. You get that many people with that much money in the same room, nobody can make a decision. You got to get a great AD who knows business, and the Florida people will throw money at you. But they've got to have confidence in you. And y'all know that Gator fan base, but it's a great fan base. The Swamp, Gator Bait, it's one of the most intimidating atmospheres in college football. Florida's won, like you said, Franz, more than 100 SEC championships in all sports combined than any other SEC school. I would crawl if I were an AD or a coach to Gainesville on my knees. I don't know if you mentioned Lance Leipold at Kansas. Maybe, but they've got to know the Florida culture. It's a fun and gun culture, but my God, there's so many great athletes, and the track and field programs in Florida are exceptional, and that makes football even better.
Yeah.
Florida right now is sitting there with a golden opportunity. Don't fumble the ball.
And here's the thing that they've done. You look at
Florida's endowment's about $2.5 billion, I think, isn't it, friends?
Look what's happened. They hired Urban Meyer resigns, and they hire Will Muschamp. Will Muschamp might have been a good head coach had he had a Bowling Green in Utah before he got here to learn how to deal with things like the alumni and stuff like that. And he didn't. So we hired him straight out, and he wasn't ready. They hire old Yeller, Jim McElwain, and he's getting paid $4 million and can't even spend the money to get his teeth white. Okay. Then they hired Dan Mullen, who from the beginning seemed like the right hire, but then he abdicates on recruiting, and you can't have that. Now, did they pull the trigger too quick on Dan? Some people seem to think so. A lot of people seem to think that they did. But then they come after the next coach. They've decided make the point to fire Dan Mullen, okay? Who could you have gotten at that point in time? Well, they never bothered to call Lane Kiffin, because I know at that point in time when they fired Dan Mullen, Lane Kiffin would have crawled backwards to Florida to come here. Would have. I was at John Reeves's funeral, and I spent an hour with Lane, and I know how much he loves Florida. But I also know this. He's in a situation at at Ole Miss, where he's going to make the playoff this year. And let's say he wins 11 ball games. He's going to have a real shot at winning the national championship with that offense, and he has a defense right now. He's got really, really good people. He's got more money. I know this. They're sitting on $50 million worth of money that they have earmarked for NIL. And I have good friends still at Ole Miss. Half the people I was in during my formative years in Mississippi are now big-time Ole Miss boosters. Some of them work at the Butler Snow law firm. You know all about them, Rob.
They're big.
They're in 28 states, 500 lawyers. They're big time, and they also got probably close to $1 billion off of the tobacco settlement. Big time people. They alone have put up money about that, and I can tell you right now, Florida's got a kid named DJ Lagway, and guess what? Ole Miss is losing a senior quarterback. Guess what else? LSU is going to lose Garrett Nussmeier to the draft this year. You can count on that. Who else has a senior's quarterback that's out there? There's a bunch of them out there, like Georgia. We already saw that Georgia would spend $1 million to get Trevor Etienne. What would they spend to get a guy like DJ Lagway?
Yeah,
well, look, Florida's got to get the money together, and that means pay off Billy and his staff, hire a new coach and staff, then put enough NIL money together that somebody can come in here and salvage recruiting by bringing in the right transfers and keeping a couple of the guys here.
Look, I had an interesting perspective about over a year ago. Franz and I did when we covered the Rashada story. Yeah, maybe it was just the first time since really be able to sort of look under the veil of, let's call it, the old bag money, the bootleggers trail through the South, if you will, of old monies and cars, of things that didn't exist at Alabama and that didn't exist at Florida. And, all of these great old tales that were never told true, and you never really, really talked to the person directly. But all along, when the Rashada thing went down, and this gobs of money and these billionaires having some pissing contest, of one of them didn't even have any money, about we're going to pay some player $13 million to come play at Florida. And it was an interesting time because I got, it was sort of like you got contacted from one of these old families from back in the day, and they contacted me because of that I was sort of a media person to sort of feed and talk to about what's going on. And they gave me a couple of things along, hey, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, to sort of vet them, and these things that happen. And and all along the way, they gave us a couple of quotes and led us to the right way. But as fans know, everything we learned from all of these people that, not even bull gators, or not the gator guard. And these are the people that really went and paid a lot of money potentially, or didn't pay money potentially, for players that did or did not potentially get money or bag money to come play college athletics, a la pre NIL. And I guess the whole point of this is that I got to see sort of under the veil a little bit more, and the intricacies of all how these monies and things are working. And the reality is that now we just have all of that. We never, the collectives were supposed to connect that money together with the universities and sort of bring this all to fruition for all the goodness and greatness of getting the best players and all that kind of stuff. And what happened was, and a lot of this is speculation, but I know, for me as a person, I know it to be true, that early on, Billy had not made friends with a lot of that old potential money and all of these things. And that sort of always sort of never really went away. The Rashada thing never sort of really went away. And this sort of thing just led him to this place where we are now, where it's just like he had some support, but he didn't have all the support. And a year ago, I heard all these things that, that these were not going to be good years because of the fact that this money was not really wanting to give it to a program that didn't seem to be going in the right direction. And I just feel like a lot of that is where we are today. And I think if we don't make some sort of a change, Franz and Rob, then a lot of and we've alluded to this with other teams, these collectives are not going to tap in to these really important players that want to be a part of a program, but they want to be a part of a program that they all seemingly have to agree upon.
Well, you make a lot of good points. And here's the one thing that the Rashada thing told us right then, was that we had no clue about NIL at the time. We had amateurs. You had amateurs running the show. And you're playing in a game that you've got professional money people out there. Georgia, for example, Don Lieberman died, but he left his family in charge. Biggest liquor distributor on the East Coast. Royal Crown Distributing? Yes, indeed. Big time money. I'm talking about billions, okay? You look at what's going on even at Arkansas. People say, well, Arkansas is not winning. No, they're not. But if they ever get the right coach in, Arkansas has got, that I know of, if you count just the people from the Walton family, there's at least 10 or 12 Waltons that are on the billionaires list. And that doesn't include all the Tysons in the Tyson family, or all the Reynolds in the Reynolds family, or the J.B. Hunts of the world. And the Stevens. Warren Stevens, the biggest investment bank, non-Wall Street investment bank in America, is in Little Rock. Yep. And so forth like that. These people, what is it? The Mahatma Water-Made Rice people, or Arkansas people?
Let me throw another one at you. This is something to keep in mind. Arkansas just inked a deal this past week, about 3 days ago, with Tyson Foods and Walmart. They're now going to have their logos in the 20-yard line at opposite ends of the field at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, Frank Broyles Field. We're going up to Fayetteville October 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th to do the show from there for the Tennessee game. Stevens, I know Warren Stevens is worth over $7.5 billion, and he loves the Razorbacks. And Jerry Jones has a lot of money, but unless he sells the Cowboys, he doesn't have that much money. But guys, I just wonder though how much these really wealthy people will pump into NIL, because if you can't keep a kid there for a certain number of years in a contract like the normal business world is, that's a problem. But Florida needs to move quickly and show their fans they're committed to winning. They can't afford to get this hire wrong, and anyone associated with past hires needs to be gone.
Yeah, well, breaking news, guys. I mean, the looks like On3 is reporting. I'm getting all this stuff. 4 downs in a bracket, Billy Napier area, Florida Needers end with boosters ready to pay and buy out. On3 is reporting that, or USA Today, I should say, is reporting that that the boosters have the money for the buyout. I'm trying to just reading as I go from On3. Boosters have covered the upfront money for Billy's buyout. USA Today.
They have. I know that. We all knew that going in.
We knew that going into the deal. We know that as part of it. But sorry. And then On3 reporting meeting tomorrow. So On3 is reporting that there's a meeting tomorrow, which we've been seeing in the chat room. And look, the thing is that, I'll tell you, for all the fan bases and, around, we have a very, very good and knowledgeable fan base. And look, this is the group of people that brought us the old Chip Kelly days. And when we tracked them across the skies in the airplane. So we do have a very knowledgeable fan base, and we do appreciate everyone and understand we're not saying anything is anything fact until we have a press release that's official. Matt S, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Hey friends, Kiffin will be the next Florida head coach. By the way, if you want to get your comment read on the air, you just go ahead and tap that little dollar sign next to the chat, and you donate $1, 50 cents, whatever, and we'll read your comment.
And I'm in Memphis, and I'm going to be hearing a lot of I always do, because Jimmy Sexton's in Memphis, but we knew that Saban thing was going to happen. That got out at a Christmas party, and you can't hide these things. Florida's going to make a run on Kiffin, friends. Is the Georgia game over?
Yeah, there's 18 seconds left in the game. Georgia's up 13-12. I guess pretty much all they got to do. It's fourth and 4, and
Enos is the head. So Enos is going to be the interim.
Well, I think Dan Enos would be a good choice for your interim because he does have head coaching experience.
Sorry to those guys. I've been on the air for almost 2 hours, so if you've been texting me stuff, I've been trying to get up here to get the news out as much as we can. But thanks for sending me the messages. My phone is just breaking tonight.
I will tell you this: I got a text from somebody who is a major hitter in this business. Has been watching this thing. That ought to tell you. I mean, I can't say because it's confidentiality, but I'm not going to say. But this is the person who can make something. There is
Texans in town.
God, this is the biggest story in college football right now because it's Florida. Yeah. It's the biggest story. Brendan, what an honor, man, to get to share in this. Friends, you're a badass.
Listen. This is Andy Staples writes this tonight. It has to be over. Whether the official end comes later, Saturday, Sunday, or someday in the next 2 months, it doesn't matter. The Florida football program has to be under new leadership next season if the people in charge of it want anyone to donate a penny or buy a ticket. That's Andy Staples. And Andy has this habit of being right a lot. He's very, very
he's a Gator.
Well connected. He has a habit of being right a lot. Not all the time. None of us are right all the time. But here's the thing that's got to happen, and that's why as recently as a couple weeks ago, I was told by people way, way, way up there that Billy Napier, barring some unmitigated disaster, would be the head football coach here next year. And those were people that should know, could know, And what did they say? That's what they said. These same people tonight are whispering, it's over. Now, what changed? What changed is this. Nobody
they
expected
lost.
on ABC national television, 3:30 p.m., when nobody is watching the Big Ten and everybody's got their eyes on the SEC. Nobody is expecting Florida to go out there and lay an ostrich-sized egg, you know, which is what that was. Things change, and things change quickly. This is not something anybody planned. They really wanted to stick it out with Billy, and I can tell you why, guys. Billy Napier is a nice guy. Billy Napier has a plan, has it all written out. And if you read the plan sounds great.
Yeah, well,
but you know what? It's kind of like this. If you're the general in a war, you know, and you're sitting there and you're drawing up all these plans and they look good on paper. If you don't have the people in the field to make it happen, it doesn't happen. Great plans don't work. This is why Patton was so good. Patton said, screw all you people with your plans. He says, I'm looking at I'm listening to what my troops tell me, and we're going to do this, this, and this, and boom, they did it. Patton was not one of these guys that had 28,000 pages worth of plans.
Well, but that bothers me. It bothers me when I heard Scott Strickland 2 years ago talk about how Billy Napier pulls out his notes from 1 year ago, the day before, 1 year that day, the year before, and reviews them to get better. I get the efficiency in trying to get better, but dude, too much information. And look, I think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, this guy's done. I think all reports say this guy's out the door. Billy's going to be gone. I'm not reporting it because I can't say it. I don't know for sure, but there is enough smoke now to know that he's going to be gone. That we're going to be talking about. Ito's going to be the interim coach, and then we're going to go from there. I mean, this is clearly what's going to happen.
Some of these people probably ought to, all of us probably need to get those of us who haven't read it, go pick up a copy. Those of us who have read it, get our copy out, dust it off, and read it again. It's called the Peter Principle. And what the Peter Principle says is you get to a level where you're really good, and you got to really calculate whether you go up the next level or not. Because if you go up the next level, you may have been promoted beyond your capabilities. Okay? They use in the book, they use the principle of the outstanding master sergeant in the Army who suddenly gets promoted to an officer level. And instead of being in there where he's mingling with the troops and knows each of his guys by name and knows what their capabilities are, he's now is a captain or a lieutenant over several platoons, doesn't know half of them, and has no ability, and he's over his head. And that's probably as fair an analogy as there is. And Billy Napier, I guarantee you, could go back to the Sun Belt and probably win a dozen championships in the Sun Belt. Does that mean he could coach in the SEC? Maybe someday in the future, but not right now and not here. Not right now and not here is the answer to that question. Maybe someday, just like Will Muschamp. We'll never know. If he had taken 2 years at Bowling Green and 2 years at Utah.
I don't know, man. It's hard. It just isn't it hard to feel like this isn't like Bernie Madoff just rolled through here. I'm sorry, man. He's walking out of here with a shit ton of cash and a good deal, and you know what? We just got raked and left with nothing. How in the are we going to pay this guy $26 million for just destroying what was left? He said make it better. I mean, God, I don't care how nice he is.
Listen, so Brendan, Billy Napier did not hold a gun to anybody's head and tell him to give him a 7-year contract with all
No,
this
of
money.
course not.
And that's what the problem
shouldn't
with
have taken the
Florida.
job.
That's what the problem with Florida has
Too big a
been.
job.
That's what the problem with Florida has been from the beginning. The one guy they should have given as big a contract and as long a contract as he ever wanted was Steve Spurrier. Should have, didn't. They end up getting, Steve Spurrier they should have told Steve Spurrier after that 1996 national championship, here, 10 years. 10 years, you name the price, we'll take it. But
Here we go. Super
Instead-
chat $5.99. Got to read them as they come in. That's the rule. It's like a home run. Super chat $5.99. Thank you very much from Matt S. I'm hearing from insiders that Strickland will have no input on the next coach. Also, that he will likely be gone by December. If you want your super chat read, go ahead and donate in the chat, and we will read your chat. Sorry, Franz. Go ahead.
Oh, I with what you just read, I can't disagree with that. I like Scott Strickland, another guy who's really, really nice, but another guy who probably was where he should have stayed at Mississippi State. He's a Mississippi State grad. His father-in-law is Bailey Howell, the greatest basketball player in Mississippi State history, and everything like that. Should have stayed there. Should have.
Yeah. Well, he didn't.
And nice guy. What was it? Leo DeRocher said, "Nice guys finish last." Well, we aren't going to finish last, but we're on rock bottom right now.
He's got a nice new car and a fat bank account to go wherever he wants to go. He can go hang out with Jimbo. Him and Jimbo got a special country club called.
I'll tell you what, Jimbo Fisher, you could hire him cheap because he's got $75 million in the bank. And I can tell you right now, the son of a gun can flat out recruit.
Maybe he could give some of his money to the NIL, or to the collective, and then we could recruit with some of Jimbo's money. I mean, he can go his own players.
Right now,
millionaires coaching their own teams. That's how we're going to get out of this, friends. What do we think of this before?
Well, you know what?
A
business partner of mine has been saying for years and years and years. He said the greatest job in the world is to get fired as a Division I head football coach at a power conference. You think about that. Florida paid Will Muschamp like $8 or $10 million. We had cause to fire old Yeller, and yet we still gave him like about a $5 million settlement to go away. Because we didn't want to fight him in court, so we just gave him $5 million. We gave Mullen $12 million, and we gave his assistant coaches a bunch more. As the buyout cost us about $20 million total there. So what are we looking at? That's $35 million plus add 26, and what you're going to spend another 8 that you're going to spend on assistant coaches. 34, what's that? 59, $60 million? $60 million pissed away.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Arkansas, the Walton family collectively is worth over $250 billion. They've also, some of those Waltons are donators. Bill Laurie, former Memphis basketball player, he married one of the Walton girls. You ought to see what they've given to Memphis athletics and Missouri athletics. I'm telling you right now, you're not
turn that in. I didn't care.
We on this show we cover all 16 teams on sidelines. Watch out for Missouri. You got to get this right, man. Missouri just spent $250 million on one of their end zones to renovate. They got a lot of money. Kansas City, St. Louis, in between there.
In that end zone, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, Florida, get this right. And I know this has been an unbelievable conversation here tonight. Like I said, if you have apathy, your program's toast. If you've got fans that are passionate up almost until midnight on a Saturday night because they're mad as hell and they're not going to take it anymore, you'll fix the problem. But you need your alpha males in that room telling these betas to get out of the way and go hire a tough, driven coach. And you don't need 100 assistant people telling you what to do. Have a small core group of people. Have a coach that's in charge and tells everybody my way or the highway. Get out of my way. Know what I'm doing, and give them a ton of money for NIL to go recruit. Because if you don't have 20, 25 million right now, you're not going to have a class like Georgia or Alabama or what Auburn's doing. Ole Miss is doing what Ohio State's doing. You cannot do this on the cheap.
I mean, and France, how important is it? Because there is some really good 2025 guys. There's, we've got picked up some good recruiting. You got Lagway to think about. You've got some good talent coming into the program potentially that you really want to hold on to, no?
Well, one thing you've got to be able to do is this, guys. You got to be able to once the decision is made, you got to get on the phone with every one of these recruits and say, guys, give me till December 1. Before you commit, before you decommit, before you go someplace else, before you do anything else, give me till December 1. And by December 1, I will have a coach and I'll tell you about it. And you still have time. You can take your visits, whatever, but don't decommit us until we've got something done.
You got to. With a little fat envelope with like a 10K in there. Say, just hang on.
Recruits too. That's got to be job number one.
Job number
two is you've got to find a head coach who can mine the portal and who is very, very skilled at keeping a locker room fresh with portal guys. Now you can have FSU this year has all these new portal guys. And from what I understand, everybody at FSU in that locker room would take a straight razor to the guy in the locker room next to him. They hate each other, and it shows they're 0-3. So you got to have people. You got to have somebody that knows how to not only recruit the portal, but knows how to keep a locker room safe and caring for each other. And it takes that. Billy Donovan spoke recently to the Florida football team, and he said, "You show me a team that doesn't respect and care about each other. You got to be able to care about that guy on one side and the other side of your locker room and the guy across from you. And if you don't have that, you're not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. So you got to find somebody who can do all of those things. You got to find, and the guys out there, I just got a text about 5 minutes ago. Somebody said, Pete Carroll is available. Pete Carroll?
Yeah, but do you go NFL? Do you go bring in NFL and go?
Well, Carroll,
maybe you do.
Look what Pete Carroll did at Southern Cal.
I know.
I know. He won a Super Bowl and lost a Super Bowl with the Seahawks.
What we were saying before, Rob brought that up. Do you go to the NFL? And I think you do. I think you need an NFL mind. By the way, Brian Fisher super chat $2. Sorry to be late on that. Lane, Lincoln, Jed, Shum, and that order. Franz, what is your response to Brian?
Well, I think you got to try to get Lane. I don't believe Lane Kiffin would come because I think he's got a team that's going to go into the playoffs. Lincoln Riley, I'd be willing to give him a shot. He's a splash hire, big name. Jed Fish, he's got Gator roots. Was once the defensive coordinator at PK Young right here in Gainesville and was a grad assistant for Steve Spurrier. Runs a high-powered offense, has good pro connections. Howie Rosenbaum, the GM of the Eagles, was his college roommate here at the University of Florida. So he's another guy. Glenn Schumann up at Georgia. Here's what I question with Glenn Schumann. Bright young guy for sure. Is he ready to be a head coach? He's never been a head coach before. And so the answer is that. Pete Carroll is my age, guys, and he's old, but right now, you got to have somebody to hold the fort, and maybe he's a guy that can hold the fort. But that's a guy that I got a text from somebody suggesting that. Would I take Pete Carroll at 73 years old? No, I wouldn't. But I will say this about him is if you were to bring him here and say, okay, you're going to be here for 2 years to get this thing done.
There's no way.
Would you do it?
No, he wouldn't do it because he's gonna finish his career there. That's the problem.
He's already finished. He's
Right,
at
but you
Southern
just
Cal
wanna-
teaching a class.
Right, but you don't want to go out. By the way, I'm getting all these funny texts and stuff and memes. Can we fire Austin Armstrong? Maybe the worst hire ever. I just think he's a giant child. He's like the guy that watches the Romper Room.
He's Larry Mondello. Larry Mondello from Leave It to Beavers, who he is.
Yeah, dude. Can we just all agree that guy just needs to stop? I mean, he needs to just check his orange and blue at the door. Like, dude, I got your tab. Just go.
Yeah. Well, you got to find where this is the problem. A lot of the really good coaches have walked. Again,
just
with what? Think about this.
It's like he's done, dude.
It's going to be tough to find that splash hire. I mean, because who is it, guys? Who is the guy out there that you got to have?
It's just like
let's take a quick look through. Let's just go through the power conferences real quick. It won't take us but 2 minutes to go through here. Syracuse has a new coach. No, forget it. Bill O'Brien, Boston College. Okay, worked for Saban, worked for Belichick. Okay, resurrected Penn State. Virginia, no. Georgia Tech, no. Duke coach, no. Manny Diaz, no. Trust me, Mario's not leaving Miami. Mac Brown is the same age I am, 73, a little bit old. The coach at Pittsburgh, there were a couple years ago I'd have said yes, but now no. Justin Wilcox said California, no. Jeff Brom not going to leave Louisville under any circumstance. Dave Doran at North Carolina State, no. Rhett Lashley at SMU. Gosh, Rob, you know him.
I like Rhett Lashley. Played at Arkansas for Houston Nutt. Finished in like 05 or 06. Was attached to Gus Malzahn's hip for years. Great recruiter. Knows the Southeastern Conference. Rhett Lashley is a coach. I'm very, very high on that guy. I would take a hard look at Rhett Lashley.
Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, no. Dabo's not leaving Clemson. The coach at Stanford, forget it. Wake Forest Gump, Dave Clawson ain't going anywhere. Mike Norvell, we're happy that he's 0-3 at Florida State. Then we go to the Big 12. Gus ain't leaving UCF. He's got a good thing going. Kleeman at K-State is a great coach. Doesn't have any ties here. Kyle Whittingham at Utah ain't going anywhere. Kenny Dillingham hasn't proven he can win yet at Arizona State. Mike Gundy, a name that should be at least vetted. Okay, I'm not saying he'd come, but he's a name that he's a guy that you could think about him. He's strong enough to stand up to T. Boone Pickens and get away with it. Kalani Sitake's not leaving BYU. Matt Campbell at Iowa State. What could he do if he's at a place where you can actually recruit and win? The coach at Arizona, Brent Brennan, too young. Dave Aranda at Baylor, forget him. Whoever's at Cincinnati now, forget him. Dion, no way. Coach at Texas Tech, no way. Coach at
Dion, I don't even. That's not even a. He should never coach again.
Yeah,
no,
he's a clown show. It's all about his sons.
Willie Fritz at Houston is a terrific coach, but he's there to rebuild stuff. That's what he does everywhere he goes. Lance Leipold at Kansas, he'd win wherever he goes. He's going to win.
Matt Rule, Nebraska, go get him.
Yeah, Matt Rule. If I'm Matt Rule, I would not leave there until Dalen Raiola, their quarterback, who's a freshman, until he decides to go to the NFL, I would not leave, because that guy is a whoa.
We got a JJ Trucking LLC super chat $2. Lane O'Reilly, thank you for that, JJ Trucking. We know who you are. You're always a loyal follower.
And you see Petrino's name up there. Look, Bobby Petrino came into the SEC in 2002 from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Say what you want about the guy, but he gets results. And Eli Drinkowitz, you see his name. Eli Drinkowitz is from Alma, Arkansas, right next to Fort Smith. He's been at Auburn a couple of years. He's got connections to Gus. He is getting it done at Missouri. And that's the death row defense is still working even after they lost their coordinator to LSU. And LSU's defense is just a mess. They're a hot mess. And that's with Bo Davis coaching the defensive line. Quinn Ewers hurt. Arch Manning is in at quarterback tonight. Remember, Quinn Ewers had missed 5 games the last 2 years. Who do you go get off that Texas staff, friends?
You don't go get an assistant coach. I mean, look, trust me. Florida has gone after, the last assistant coach we got from Texas was Will Muschamp. I'm not going to stand for another one.
I love Will Muschamp, but it didn't work out.
I like the hell out of Will. Anybody who knows Will likes Will. The problem is he should have coached it. It's kind of like being a Major League Baseball manager. He should have managed down in the minors for a while before he became a head coach. There are guys that are out there that you can get. I mean, look in the Big Ten. Is there a coach in the Big Ten that I'd want to get? James Franklin would probably crawl backwards to this job. But with all the resources they have at Penn State, including a stadium that seats 110,000.
Yeah.
They're, as one friend of mine calls who is a Penn State grad, calls them old 9-3 Franklin, because he goes 9-3 every year. Goes 9-3 every single year.
Fran Brown at Syracuse. What about him?
He's first year as a head coach.
I know.
Why would you get? Why you don't go get somebody that still hadn't figured out how to deal with the alumni?
I agree with but I think he is a good coach. I think he's a deep discount value stock.
You don't need a good coach. You need. We've hit singles and doubles. It's time to hit, and we've hit a triple. A guy that woke up on third base and thought he'd hit a triple. Okay?
Alex Golish at USF. What about him?
No way. Again, you cannot hire a guy from a non-power conference. Believe me, you either got to go the NFL, or you got to go. If he's from a non-power conference, he's got to be a guy who's been a head coach in the power conference before. Urban isn't coaching again. I can tell you that for a fact. And the Myers and I are very good friends. He ain't coaching again. Fox pays him $2 million a year to come work on one day on the weekends, and he likes that job. And he's got a 38-foot. He has a 38-foot Sea Ray that Monday through Thursday he'll be out in the Gulf on his Sea Ray. He ain't coming back.
$2 super chat. I don't know, $2. Yeah, Gus bus to the swamp, friends.
For one thing, I can tell you right now, Gus Malzahn ain't going anywhere. Gus is at a place where he likes it, where they like him, and it's not the pressure. We saw what Gus did at Auburn when he had the pressure on him, and he was a good coach, but he never could repeat what he did that first year when he was there. And I think part of it was because after he got there that first year, and everybody said, look what he did when he was in 2010, when he was calling the plays for Cam. Look what he did his first year here in 2013. And I don't think he handled the pressure after that. Rob, you tell me if I'm wrong about that. But I don't think he can handle it.
Yeah. He was hard-headed. He wouldn't let other people call the plays. He kept saying he was bringing in an offensive coordinator, and he wouldn't do it. He micromanaged him. Very similar to Billy Napier. but Billy Napier didn't have the success Gus had. Florida, it's so tricky getting the right coach. Kiffin's going to be the one everybody goes after, or Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino would win immediately at Florida. Say what you want about the guy. Look, it's like people, how many of us are going to spend any time with these guys? Who cares if they're hard asses? I mean, you know what? You want a guy that will win. You want a guy that's going to come in and change the culture.
You have to have someone capable of winning, but you also have to have somebody. You have to have somebody who that can sustain a program. And here's my problem with Bobby Petrino, and it's the same problem I have with some college basketball coaches. They go to a place long enough to win some ball games, and then they're off to the next bright and shiny object. There's coaches like that who do that. Bobby Petrino has never really stayed anywhere long enough to really sustain a program. That's a problem with him. There's no question, Rob. You're absolutely right about brilliant. Would he win immediately? Yes, but so he comes here and wins 3 years in a row, and then all of a sudden, along comes, say, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they say, "Hey, Bobby," and he says, "Be there tomorrow." History says that's what he'd do. Philip Colbert, I love it.
Well, you know what you're going to do? You got to do something. You got to do it quickly, because your Gator Nation needs to be given hope. They got to believe that the administration, and they don't know what they're doing, but you've got to get people in charge saying, okay, we're getting rid of Billy Napier. It's not going to work. I said it on y'all Buddy Martin show a few weeks ago. If it ain't happening in year 2 and you're going backwards the first week of year 3, it ain't going to happen. Bobby Petrino is a recruiter. No one says he's a great recruiter, but my God, if you can't recruit to the University of Florida, you're a living brain donor.
Well,
I mean, who wouldn't want to come to Florida? Who would not want? Seriously, watching this program.
You can't disagree with the points you made, Rob, but what you can disagree with is every time Bobby Petrino has been shown a bright and shiny object. He was the offensive coordinator, and tried to stab his own head coach in the back, a guy named Tommy Tuberville, and really tried to do that. I don't think so. Somebody who says Jimbo Fisher. Right now, Jimbo Fisher as an interim coach sounds like a great idea compared to, I mean, look, who we got, I'm looking at this season. I'm looking at these people, looking at these kids, and I feel for the kids, guys. I really do feel for the kids.
I don't feel for them anymore because they're getting paid.
Yeah.
I don't feel for any of them anymore. Look, you're getting paid.
You're getting paid. Yeah.
And I just want to say we hit 1,012 people on. That's a record for us tonight. We always want to say thank you to all those people that have been around.
Thank you.
We are getting. I did the football game today. I know friends did too. I'm pretty beat up. I'm tired, and we're probably going to get a lot of. I'm the one that's going to be burning the midnight oil this week. 3 hours of podcasting a day. So I'm tired, and I don't think we don't have any information to share other than we've shared it all tonight, and I hope we've been a venting place for you all, and thank you for listening. It's it's a family, so thank you for letting me talk and vent. We're screwed. That's it. So
all I can say is there's a wonderful song you probably all heard in Jaws. Show me the way to go home.
Boom,
I'm
boom.
tired and I
want to go home.
Well, I had a little drink about an hour ago, and it went straight to Billy's head. And Landor, sweet old foam, boom, boom, where Billy just go home.
Let me here's the best description. Here's the best description of what's going on with the Florida football coaching thing. It's a huge split sandwich, and we've all got to take a bite. So let's get it over with, fix this thing. But this has been a lot of fun. This has been awesome to get. This is cool. Brendan,
Rob, if this was Auburn, you would not be having any fun right now. I know you wouldn't. And I want to say, I know. Check the show out, Buddy Martin Show. Hey, hit the subscribe button right now. Subscribe to our channel. We're at 1,030 people on right now on all 7 of our platforms. You're watching on Facebook. Hit the like button. Hit the follow button. Like this show. Leave a comment. Share it with your friends and family. All that stuff. If you like YouTube and you're on watching out, go to this little QR. Bam, you'll be able to. It'll take you right to a place where you're automatically subscribed to the show. It's free.
One last word. Look, can I make one last word?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. And I want to say,
I got pissed off earlier, and it's not, don't take it personal, anybody, but I have been bombarded with, I've had probably 91 people who have texted me today and said, you are the dumbest asshole that has ever lived. And
was it my ex? That's probably all my ex-girlfriends, Franz. I get all that all the time. That's okay. Everyone hates me, so you're good. You just join the long bus of people that are pissed off at me. It's all right. I've got
Pearls
big shoulders.
For lunch Monday.
Yeah. Well, if I'm still alive by then, hey, we might be at a press conference on Monday.
If we don't have a there's a press conference one way or the other on Monday.
Well, one day or another there's a press conference, so maybe we'll go up
to late lunch, mid-afternoon on Monday.
All right, we'll try for that late afternoon, mid Monday. We'll talk though. Let's see what's going on with the
Monday morning. Brendan, Coach Ellis Johnson's going to be. It's going to be crazy.
Drive down from Memphis. We'll take you to Pearls, and
he's Mr. Barbecue right down there. So
I'll take y'all. I'll bring some Memphis barbecue with me.
Franz, tell them how they can
bring me the banana pudding from Corky's. You can have.
That's all you need. Hey, Franz, tell them how they can read your writings and all that good stuff.
I write at GatorbaitMedia.com, and you don't have to like me or whatever like that. I really don't give a rat's ass if you do or not. Just don't.
We love you, Franz. We love
Rob, tell them where they can find you and I, which is really right here.
Right on this channel.
On this channel.
We'll be back with you at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern Monday morning. We've got Coach Ellis Johnson, longtime veteran of the conference. Franz will join us. Jordan Hill, 24/7 Sports on Georgia. Hopefully Ron Higgins over in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Bossier Journal. Lot to talk about. Hey, listen, this is what we do. We get this text. Brendan said, hey, lot going on. I stopped what I was doing. Franz did. Lauren did. Buddy did. This is what we're here for, to bring service and content to our audience. And thank you so much. We cannot say thank you in enough ways, how blessed we are. Have a great weekend. And Brendan, you are incredible. I'm ready to go tomorrow if we're needed.
We're going to thank you. I might be calling you in the middle of the night going.
Good night, friends. Okay. Good night, friends.
Good night,
everybody.
Hey, if I call you at 3 a.m. with a bottle of like Excedrin and vodka, talk me off the ledge.
Have a hams.
Get out of here, Billy. I've had enough of you. You should have. It's Buddy Martin Karma. He's got the karma. You should have come to the show.
Yes. Good night, everyone. Thanks, man.